All righty. We are live. It's like the official announcement. I think we all do that. It's like the announcement. We are live. We are live. How many times have we said we are live?
Well, it's to remind us not to say anything stupid.
Right. Totally. Note to self. Or it's so funny. I don't know if you heard this story. I did a real blunder. I said we were live, and 22 minutes in, having Debbie, Freebird Spirit, realized after we were both kind of like, I think it kind of dawned on us at the very same time. We were interacting with the chat. So we thought we were putting kind of like comments up. And then we kind of like went, we're not live. After 22 minutes, we had been in this full conversation, Sheila.
Oh, no.
I double and I triple check that we are live. And in fact, we are. So thank you for being here, Celtic
You're
Tarot.
welcome.
This is a treat. Thanks for saying yes to the invite and showing up. And I'm looking so forward to getting to know you a little bit more.
Thank you. You know, I'm highly jealous of your opening.
Oh,
That was fantastic.
thank you. Thank you. The music. All I did was the music. Yeah, I did. I chose the music, and then a friend of mine, Jason, created all of it, which it's wonderful. But I think we're going to even change it a little bit to make it that much more me and maybe shorten it a tiny bit. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Wow, that was a wow. I enjoyed it.
It says in the zone. And speaking of the zone, thank you all for being here. All these lovely people coming and joining. And I'm sure most of them are coming to see you, Sheila, because I would too.
Aw. I do recognize a lot of like Sharon Sipe and Vivian and Lisa Foster. Yeah, I do recognize a lot of these Sharon. Yep, a lot of these names.
All the lovely people. Speaking of the creator of the intro, this is the man. Light. This is Jason. Modern holistic healing. Which
Jason, I want you to do something like that for me.
there you go. I'll hook you up. Totally.
That was just great.
Good stuff. Great. Sheila, I am so curious because I don't know some of these things about you in these questions. And so I've tweaked a few of them. But I'm curious how and why. Well, first of all, I'm actually curious about your name. How did you come up with the name? And then maybe go into the why and the how of the world of YouTube.
Well, well, the name, I've always known that I was from Ireland, right? Our family is like, oh, and then I took a DNA test and I was like 97%. And then I had a lot of little England and there was some other Australia stuff and, you know, stuff is in there. So it was like 97%. I've never been to Ireland. However, we also in my family have more not that redheads equal Ireland, but we have a lot of redheads in our family per capita. Literally, we have so many redheads. Almost every one of us has birthed a redhead, or our children has birthed a redhead. And I was a natural redhead.
Oh, okay.
And so we had that going for us. And so when I was trying to figure out a name for my channel, I knew that I was going to have Celtic in there somewhere. I was really proud of that. At first, at the beginning, and I don't know if anybody's in the chat that remembers from the get-go, but it was actually Celtic Witch Tarot, right?
Mm.
Yeah, well, I put the word witch in there because I wanted to sound cool. It wasn't like I really practiced paganism or anything like that. It was just like really wanted to sound cool. Well, I realized right off the bat that the word witch was really off-putting to a lot of people, especially when I was trying to reach spirituality and they were taking it another way, and I was getting the wrong kind of attention.
Yeah.
So I took it out. So it went to Celtic Tarot Sheila, which of course fits me, I think, perfectly.
It does.
So that's where the name came from.
I love it. And then the world of YouTube. How did you actually, I want to ask this before. Tarot, was that something that when did you start to look at the tarot, know about the tarot?
Well, I have an older sister. I'm 6 out of 7 children, right? And so I'm the 5th daughter. And so my third to the oldest sister was into tarot cards. And when I was in my 20s, she would redo readings and stuff like that. And so I knew about tarot cards for since then. And I loved them. The moment I touched them, the moment I saw them, I loved them. The moment I was able to get into that world, I loved every bit of it. I was raised in an organized religion that told me that I was a devil if I was going to do that. Now, in my 20s, I'm thinking that's exactly what I'm going to do the first thing.
Oh.
However, anything that the church wanted me to do, I was going to do the opposite of. But so I knew that. And of course, my intuitiveness and all of that, I just learned, or just out of memory now, I knew that I was practicing that back in the day. Like, I knew when to go to my room. I knew when somebody was coming home. I knew, intuitively things, and instinctively how to maneuver my tumultuous upbringing and my childhood. So those type of things. And then I went through a period of time. I was just married, raising kids, and having babies. Right. It was really just trying to survive through all of that. And when I got back into my 30s, and all of that kind of subsided, and I had gotten a divorce, and I finally started going back into my intuitive and my metaphysical life. I started off with palm reading. I started off with, doing the pendulum, muscle testing. There's so much more, to this world. And I was doing that and doing tarot readings. And I was just starting to gather, again, more friends in the metaphysical lifestyle. And then fast forward after Trump, because I just felt like I just kept on feeling and knowing these things that are kept on bubbling up inside of me about our political atmosphere. I'm like, I've got to get on this. And I was being told, I wake up in the middle of the night with a voice saying, do a YouTube channel. And me waking up going, fine, as I pray to spirit like that. And that was my prayer back.
That's my kind of prayer. I love that. I'm making that note. Reminder. That is prayer. Awesome.
Exactly. And so I did all the gathering. It was over here, actually, in this corner right here. And I had the little table, and I gathered everything. I made it beautiful. It's like, ooh, I want everything beautiful because I'm a Gemini. And I'm beautiful, 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 beautiful. And I kept on gathering instead of doing a video. And so one day, there's a problem there. But so I finally, one day, I just did a video and just posted it. And all you could see was my hands. I am, of course, an empath, just as you. And empaths are always 1 to 2 degrees separated from exposure. Not that there's something wrong with us. It's just that we know what happens when we jump in and face the energy. Right. Yeah. And at that time, I just didn't have the courage. And finally, I just had the courage eventually. And here we are. I can talk to the world now with very little nervousness.
Yeah, I love that. That's so relatable. And I'm, as you know, I'm a Gemini. I think we're only a day or so apart. And in that, there is that hesitation, or there's the call and the knowing to step into it and to be seen, but yet we kind of play it safe. And then when we commit and we're in it full. I love that. And I love how you took the negative in the T word, Mr. T, actually, I'm not even going to say, I take that back, but in it and making it a positive, what I mean? Because I love that. And so we're all in that potential so often, and it takes something to do it. So good for you for answering that call. This is a random hit, but I kept hearing Cork, and I was like, what the heck is that? But I think it's the Ireland connection. Do you have roots in or family in Cork, Ireland?
My native name is Griffin, and we have a sigil in Ireland. And we had, back in the day, we had a castle, we had everything.
Interesting.
Griffin was my maiden name, so I do have that type of connection to the land, literally.
Oh, so. Interesting. Okay, wow. So your channel, you started when? When did you actually start the YouTube channel?
I think, if I remember right, it may have been March of 2019.
Mm.
I think it was March of 2019. It could have been 2020, but no, it could have been 2020 because it's so hard to remember. It could have been 2020 because I know that it was the lead up to the election. I think it might have been 2020.
Nice. And why? Why do you still continue to show up into your and do the channel? What's there
So
for you?
politically, I learned everything. Hi, Aiden. Aiden's in the chat.
Hi, Aiden, and hello everyone joining. Nice to
Yeah.
see some friendly faces.
Um,
Debbie, nice to see you.
why do I continue? For one thing, the political atmosphere has not calmed down any at all of much at all. We have some shifts in there, but I do enjoy reading on the political figures and getting to the point where I'm going to tell you the truth. It's not going to last long. They're not going to get far. I mean, I can at least give that information out, when it comes through. So I like the political readings, but I also want to kind of break off and to do another channel, which I'm going to. It's going to be called Spiritual Conversations.
Oh,
So I'm going to have my original channel with the Celtic Tarot, Sheila, will be political, which I'll keep up and be there. And then I'm going to, on my other channel, probably once a week, have somebody from our communities and come and talk about subjects that interest us in the spiritual realm.
yeah,
Like just have one conversation. What does your dark side of your soul looks like?
yeah.
Those spiritual conversations that no, I didn't have them when I was younger, that I had wished that I was able to go on to a YouTube channel and literally learn about all of that stuff that we all had to do clumsily,
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely going to start another channel that way.
That feels like it's going to take off because it's like it brings you back to the part about the witch and in that. So having the conversation around it and the sharing and the recognizing that it's normal and it's natural and in it just, I think will be really helpful, Sheila. I can't wait for that.
Good.
Good stuff. So I think you touched on this a little bit in it. I had a question around, it sounded like when you were in reflection, looking back to like younger years, that you were in the practice of doing things and then later on were able to language it, identify what it was. But if you could share with us when you really started to be aware of your abilities, your gifts, however you call them, when you were really aware of them.
When I knew I was really aware of them. So mostly in readings, I learned that I could really read somebody's energy. I couldn't do a reading on myself. I never really ever could. I knew a lot of people said that I can do a read. I never could do a reading on myself. But if I set a human being in front of me and I would lay down a card, I knew exactly how that card related to them. And they would be aha'd, like, oh my gosh, she does know. I mean, I got confirmation upon confirmation of that ability, right? And so I would continue on with that. Palm reading. I can just holding somebody's palm. It's not always this is what what I'm reading. I'm also reading your ancient history that you're allowing me to read and in the Akashic record. So it was much more than that. It's like spirit impressed me more and more. And the more I opened up, the more I was willing to just believe, the more I let go of any of my judgments about it, the deeper and the more spirit used me as a tool. Right. And, there was just that one day, like, whatever you want me to do, I will do. Because it's all good. And I just kind of like gave myself up to this, that spirit. It's like whatever it is. And then to know that I'm here for healing, and I know I'm here for the light. I know that I'm here for the good. Also keeps me knowing my gifts more and more. I learned about my gifts yesterday. You know what I'm saying? It never goes away. Of learning and understanding what I see. Like I'm trying to think of I was doing this profound reading for somebody, and I have permission for her to, I'm not going to say her name, but I have permission to talk about this. I was doing a reading for her, and I was doing a remote view, right? And I closed my eyes, and I'm always nervous that nothing's going to come. I'm always nervous about that. I don't know why, but I think the worst thing that can happen is nothing comes through. And so I close my eyes, right? And I close my eyes and I go, oh my gosh, I'm like, you're literally down here to learn about pain, because pain is misinterpreted in our society.
Mm.
And then I was going through another remote, and I'm like, I can see fire, and I can see something else in the, and I was going on and on without giving too much. And then and she's on the other side. I open up my eyes, and she's like, right? And another confirmation. And she says, Sheila, my last name is Pain.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay. And then she talked about a fire that her family went through. Right. And so these are the type of things that the confirmation of what I can do is there. So I'm very grateful for readings.
Yeah.
The most. That's where I learned I always say this, that's where I put my feet on the ground.
Mm.
I'm doing readings with another human being and helping them through their spiritual journey. A reading for somebody, like, you're going to win money, you're going to get a husband and all that stuff. We all love that. That's fun stuff.
Yeah.
But where the feet, when the bare feet meet the ground, bare feet meet the grass, is when you've actually helped somebody through a spiritual journey that they have been stuck on.
Yeah. I love that, Sheila. I think that's so important, that the aspect of the healing is what it, and in that, the other stuff is great as well. But there's something when that's a part of it is, it's wonderful. So and that's the thing. Sometimes people don't know this. So for those that aren't aware and those that are, Sheila does offer one-on-one readings. The information is in the description. If you would like to book a session with her, that is in the description box. And I'm curious, when did you actually start reading? Actually, let me back up. When did you actually start calling yourself like a medium, if you do, or a psychic, or
that's a whole other story. People call me, they give me the labels before I give myself the labels. Long before I do.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, oh, that happened. And they're like, oh, that's what mediums do. Oh, yeah. Is that what that is? There was something that kind of reminded me when you were talking about that. So I had a spiritual teacher that she used to go to every class. Oh my gosh, if there was a metaphysical class, she was there. And I think I went maybe once, like a half of a class, and I walked out of there. I'm like, I cannot ruin what I have with education. And that was my conversation to myself. Mm-hmm. It's like, and that was like the information I got. It's like, because Geminis are, I'm not just trying to brag or anything, but we are intelligent. And if I create an intelligent, educational avenue, my gifts that I have that are natural, I think I will diminish them, because then I will use my education over my empathic. And I remember walking out there, I was like, Sheila, you cannot do these. Mm-hmm. You have to rely on your natural abilities and learn through them, not a teacher. Now, that pose some difficulties for readers out there that know the tarot cards backwards and frontwards and every inch of them and all of that. I am not a reader that does. I have tools. I have, tarot cards with keywords to help me out with that. Mm-hmm. The reason why is because I don't want to use that capacity to memorize everything. Mm-hmm. That's not my job, is to memorize. My job is to intuitively read the energy with the tarot cards, and I have words on there that will help me and jog my intuitiveness. Yeah. And that's how I read. And I finally one day I'm like, I am not going to apologize for the style of reading I read. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be bullied into saying there's something wrong with me or I'm not a real reader just because I use another helping tool in this whole thing. And so I don't know if that answered any of your question. That's kind of what came up in my mind when you said that.
The same thing. We're similar in that, where it's like I sometimes hear the question and then where I'm like, in the conversation, it can be so separate, but it is the answer. It is
Yeah.
the actual perfect answer and what needs to be said there. And I never judge that. So thank you, first of all, for that. The other part of it is, I think one of the key things that stood out in what you said is that natural unveiling of
Yes.
our ability, our gifts, whatever we want to call it. And in that, it is so uniquely unique. And as I'm seeing that, I'm seeing in the time it's 2:22. Twos are my numbers. I think I shared that with you just before we came on.
You
And
did.
in that, it's like it's just another layer of that validation. So in it, it can look so different. And I think that's another. I think that's an episode or many of the new channel that you'll have in that. Those conversations of breaking down. It needs to look like this, and when it doesn't, we're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
It's not the case. And so in that, I applaud you for stepping in, because that takes courage, or it takes the choice of stepping into doing it the way that feels natural for you. And when that looks different from a lot of people, sometimes we can repress and stop and think we're doing it wrong. And so bravo to you.
Right. Well, I always call that a spiritual, how can I put this positively? Maybe there's not a word for it, like a spiritual abuse that we do to another reader.
Yeah.
Right? We want to judge them like I'm better than you.
Yeah.
And it feels horrible when it's done to me, and I refuse to do it to another reader.
Yeah.
I have resided to just enjoy how they do it.
Yeah.
Bottom line. Because I do not have the corner market on how to read a tarot card. I don't have the corner market on how to be a medium. I don't have the corner market on how to read energy. All I can do is read it the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that may be, and my trust in what spirit conversates to me.
Yeah.
Because I've lived a different life than another reader, and another reader may see it differently because of their experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just love and enjoy everybody's unique and sometimes similar ways of doing things in this metaphysical life.
Yeah.
I think.
I love that. Teaching. Do you offer workshops?
I always say that I will. I haven't yet, but I would love to offer up some workshops and things like that on there. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think I see you in it where and I know this about you, you will allow them to unveil that naturalness in it. So it won't just look like trying to reproduce the way you do it, or, just this one way of doing. So in that, I think
Can you hear my grandson? He just came home from school. If you hear a little stomping, that's what that is.
perfect.
Yeah, if I was going to teach a class, it wouldn't necessarily be teaching a class on tarot. It would be teaching a class on how to let yourself go to read a tarot card.
Yeah.
To engage in your own ability. And that's where my teaching would probably take off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's focus on your intuition. What is your intuition? Teach them to read that and understand what they're doing, what's going on in their bodies.
Yeah. I think why you would do that so brilliantly is because of your, and you spoke about this, about the level of trust that you have with spirit. And that's the thing, showing up. Sometimes that little voice gets in there and it's like, is anything going to come through?
Right.
I mean, I'm not separate from that. I think that happened this morning. I'm not separate from it. And I do hundreds and thousands of readings. And it's like, that little uncertainty, but that's the thing about it. When we go back to that layer of the trust in it and let go and open up to that, the beauty, the magic happens.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Live your life magical.
Yes. Right. I love that. Your conversation, I've heard you in your, I don't know if you refer to your spirit guides or your spirit team, but in the realm of your spirit team, let's say, it comes so naturally to you, or it appears that way in watching you, how you do actually, I'll pause that part because I want to focus on this. So, in the development with your spirit team, what can you offer or share with other people as far as tips to get to know their team better, if you will?
Right. A lot of people, I envy them when they say, like, I can hear all of my guides, and I'm like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? I'm like, I hear one. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And then of course we go down the rabbit hole of, am I doing something wrong? No, but but I hear a collective voice. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's a
Mm-hmm.
collective, unified voice that comes through.
Yeah.
And the question is how to. What was the question again?
Just if you have any tips for people to be in that conversation, whether it be like person, team, whatever that is, just ways
So
to be in that.
So there's quite a few things back in the day that people suggested to train myself to listen to that voice.
Mm.
Number one, when somebody calls, just sit there for 30 seconds or less and say, ask yourself, who is that calling?
Mm.
And train yourself to find out who it was. That's a great segue into learning how to trust that voice.
Yeah.
Another way of doing that is you sit in your car right before you go out into the real world, and you sit in your car, and of course you ask for that. I'm asking for my car to be, not involved in any accidents or whatever. But if there is something that I need to do, and you need to tell me, I will listen.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I'm driving with an automatic willingness to listen to spirit. I have been driving and it says turn left. I'm like, what? I'm not going that way.
Like
And
the dog. I heard you share that story with the rescue. I heard.
yes, with the rescue. For instance, the
Yes.
story
Yeah.
of the rescue of the dog. I'm like, I'm not going that way. And then it'll come again, and again, my prayer is fine, and how we communicate.
Totally.
And I turned left, and I found out later, there was an accident, or there was something that that delayed my
Mm.
getting, whatever it is. But these are the things that I train myself to do.
Yeah.
I still will get a voice that comes through, and I am less apt to argue with it than I am to go, okay, fine, I'll do that. Call somebody. Call
Yeah.
who? Call, okay. And I just call. Or I would and these are the things that I just started to rely on. These were just small little things to rely on that. So once I learned that basis of reliance on those little things in my life, those little itty bitty details that mean nothing to nobody else but me,
Mm.
I then was learning how to rely on the big stuff.
Yeah.
What was I getting when I was asking? I read Akashic Records really well. I don't know where that came from, but I do.
Mm-hmm.
I literally do. I remember sitting in front of a client, and her thing was that she needed to learn how to let go of things. And so her assignment was to find something that you have been holding on to for years and years and years and years, and you need to get that and go give it away to somebody. And you don't ask what they're going to do with it, how they're going to do with it, or whatever it is. You just literally have to give this precious thing that you've held on to for so many years and give it away to somebody.
Mm.
Right? Learning that act of giving away something precious, which is our ego, which is our whatever. And so I was sitting there with her, and she goes, I don't know what to do. And so I sat back into the Akashic Records, and I bought up 3 things, literally, that I had no idea she had. She had a ring. She had, something else. I said, here's a scarf. Here's this, those things. And she's just shocked that I'm seeing these things that I know nothing about that she has. And she goes, I could do that. She had a little tooth that from her daughter that she had lost, right? And I know it wasn't a tooth. It was something else. It was medical. Anyways, it was something medical, and that she held on to this for the shame of it. And I said, well, maybe that's the one thing that you need to give away or whatever. And those are the type of things that make it big and huge for healing.
Mm-hmm.
and she learned to go home and get something that was precious to her and give it away, and not ask where and what somebody was going to do with it, and not track it. And she really, really learned how to let go of shame and guilt and ego, because when we die, we can't take any of those possessions with us anyway.
None of them.
None of them. So, she learned how to empty out her chariot. That's another thing about the chariot, the card, the chariot, and the tarot deck. When I get that for somebody I'm doing a reading for, especially when they're older, like in their 70s or 80s, I said, you're in your last seasons of your life, and you're getting the chariot. What that chariot means is you're going to look in that chariot. What are you willing to leave here, and what are you willing to take with you to the next life?
Wow. Good
And so
question.
you got to examine what you have been putting in your chariot this whole time.
Yeah, I love that, Sheila. Actually, I won't say too much, but it brought me back to a reading recently where Spirit brings us the gift of being in that life review in this lifetime, because we all know that in our transition, we will go through a review of, our life. And in that, so it just makes me think of the connection with that chariot. I love that. And what I take away from what you shared is the listening aspect, and really listening and getting nosy and being in participation to ask the questions. Like,
Yes.
in that, it's like if someone called you and there was only one person talking, how would that conversation go? The dialogue needs to be back and forth. So we need to participate in the conversation, get nosy, get curious, ask the questions, because
Yes.
we'll hear, we'll feel, we'll sense, we'll know, we'll get the information, we'll be in that conversation. So I love the way that you break things down, and maybe you don't know this, and like it can be really complex subjects, and you have this ability and relatability to break it down to like it digestible.
Oh,
Right? And
thank you.
I love that. I love that about you. To me, that's that superpower when it comes to teaching or sharing, if you will, in it. I think that's the gift. So I love it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of that, can you please share an experience that profoundly deepened your trust with Spirit?
But profoundly, okay, so this okay, this one's a big one. Okay, so my
I can feel it. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I don't talk about this much, and I know I'm going to put this out on a public platform, and I ask that anybody who is listening respect this story for
I just
all it's
looked
worth.
up and I heard to look up. There's 222
Wow.
in the
So,
chat.
well, there'll be more after this, right? But at
Yeah.
this moment, I just ask
Mm.
anybody in here who will please respect this conversation and this story, as in it's not to be exploited. My husband, who died in 2010, he actually died of suicide.
Mm.
Now, I was highly angry that I was sleeping next to a man that I dearly loved, and I did not get told that something was going to happen. Right? I had that one moment. I'm like, at that one moment after it happened, I'm like, you gave me all these gifts for what reason? I couldn't even save them. I mean, I really got mad. And I remember so profoundly the moment that I had a reprieve from that anger that I was feeling. And the gift that came through was, Sheila, this was not your decision.
Mm.
Therefore, you were not involved in that decision. If you were going to be asked in that decision or in that proper, you would have been told. And it deepened my feeling of spirit, knowing that I have to accept that I'm not a God, and I'm not gifted to know everything in this world. And even somebody who has gifts, I have to accept that I'm being told no as well. And so it was like he was supposed to do this. I had a reading like 6 or 7 years before I even met that man. I was sitting down and I was at a metaphysical fair or something like that, and somebody read to me and they said that you were going to inherit money. Now my family's not rich, and I go home to my sister and I'm like, "Do we have like a rich uncle somewhere?" You know what I mean? And she goes, "No." And so I was really boggled with this. It really made a lot of sense to me. But we have no rich people in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to my husband, of course, when he was in the military, then I inherit, the money and stuff like that. But all of a sudden it dawns on me, all of it clashed.
Mm.
The divine, um, the divine set this all up, and the divine knew that I would honor every aspect of what he wanted. His family wanted something different with his body. He
Mm-hmm.
wanted something different. He wanted to be buried here. He wanted this like that. And I remember being this wife and looking at his father and knowing that this is going to break his heart. And I'm going to tell him he wanted to be buried here. He will not be buried up in New York. And to watch his father, I knew that this was going to break his heart, but I had to honor what my husband wanted. And I just remember having that warm feeling come over me, like that was the reason why you were here. Those little simple things, to honor what they want, to know that you did not send him away with hate in your heart for him because he left you or whatever. I used to tell everybody he tried and did everything he could to get well. It just didn't happen. And I would defend him. I said that was his decision. You weren't involved in it, right? And I am his wife. Hold on. I can feel him right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm his wife, and I will honor his decisions, whether I believed in them or not.
Yeah.
I will honor his decision. And that blew people away, but I am his wife. I signed up for that role, and I will defend his decision, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like the most, the one big, huge push to knowing my spirit and relying on spirit's information. And then I went on to hopefully save many soldiers' life. I was a suicide prevention speaker on base where I spoke to thousands of soldiers who were afflicted with the same PTSD and the same problem. And I became a speaker to them for years. And I spoke to them and I taught them about what was going on with me and the signs, and letting them know that, this upsetness is a temporary thing and suicide is a permanent solution for a temporary thing. And, and I was able to then, it's like I lost my husband to save all of these others. Not that I had the power, but you know what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
It was that Titanic for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of my most profound. I stood in my power. Hold on. And I stood in his too.
Wow.
So I know that spirit is real and powerful, and we can heal from anything. And I do mean anything. So.
Wow, Sheila. What's his name?
Brad.
I can feel him, and I'm so thankful that he's here and he's sharing this with us through you. Thank you for your honesty in that. And I want to say vulnerability, but I think it's deeper than that. It's just a power and a sharing around something that, again, in the sharing comes the gift of it. And sometimes that's at the depth of things that are our biggest grief or our biggest upset. And we have the ability to see and learn and grow from it. And in it, I applaud you for sharing that with us. That really moved me and touched me. And I know the comments and the love and the support that people have for you and for him. Yeah. It's interesting. The next question was about grief. And so in that, I feel him instrumental in part of that answer. So thank you.
Grief is mandatory. I
Yeah,
want everybody to know that.
yeah. In any of us able to avoid that, and that's the thing. It makes me think of your other channel, and in that, the conversations about things that are actually normal and normalized, that we normalize them, and yes, they can be really difficult to talk about and be with, and yet we need to have the conversation. And so that the release that's happening is for you and is for him and for all those other people. We do that for each other in the release. So thank you, Sheila. I truly, I wish I could hug you. I am hugging you.
Thank you.
So I hope
And I have to, fast forward to get out of that. I have healed a lot from that.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
I have come to the other side of all of that, and the grief is, I'm able to speak a full sentence now. That's important to know. For like a year or two, I really had the hardest time just speaking full sentences to people because it was difficult. But and that's why I say that you can heal from anything.
Yeah.
And when it's not anything except, I'm saying anything.
Mm.
So I always tell that to anybody I'm doing readings for. You can heal from it all
Yeah, I love
if
that
you're
reminder.
willing.
I love it. And I think a part of that, an aspect of that healing is the conversation. The more
Yes.
we're in that, the more healing, because healing isn't this thing where it's like a moment and then it's over and it's done. Sometimes we revisit it. And so how that unfolds, I just admire that so much.
Thank you.
Who or what inspires you, Sheila?
Who or what inspires me?
Mhm.
Wow. I have to be cliche and say nature. So here's what inspires me. I can go out, and one of the things that convinced me about this divine inspiration is I have no idea how to make a tree.
Um,
I have no idea how to make a tree and make a beautiful. I'm getting bookings. Thanks, guys. Um, I have no idea how to make a tree or how to make a fall leaf look the color that it does, and I have no idea how to build a volcano, right, and things like that. And so it divinely inspires me that when I am feeling like I cannot, or I am egotistical. So sometimes, I have an ego and I walk outside and I'm like, you got to remember, Sheila, you're just a part of the process. You're equal. You walk shoulder and shoulder with all of these human beings, including all of the trees and things like that. I mean, I am just another pebble on the beach, just like everybody else trying to survive. And that inspires me to keep on going and remember to not get so high and mighty that you forget what you're doing here and why you've been here and the healing and all of that. So that inspires me a lot, and the beauty in that. A person. You've ever heard of Abraham Hicks? Okay. I preach about her until I go, right? And a lot of people are like, I don't understand her. But this Abraham Hicks, and listening to the divine inspiration that comes through her when she's channeling is very, very powerful to me. It's like I'm listening to ancient wisdom. Therefore, I know it's there. And if she can tap into the ancient wisdom, so can I. So can you. So can everybody.
Yeah.
That ancient wisdom is available to us all. And sometimes we just need another human being to bring it to us. So do I. I can't do a reading all by myself. I just can't. I have to go to another reader, just like everybody else, to get information about it's just truth.
Yeah.
So I hope that answered your question.
It did, and then some. I love it. It's so good. have so many questions, but it's like, and you know what? I'm going to make a decision here because I feel it. And I feel like the message that I needed, and I know many of us just needed, was to hear this conversation. And so I'm going to make the executive, it's my channel. We're not going to do readings today because I would hope that Sheila might come back and we just in a little bit different energy do readings for people. So I hope nobody's upset with us. I'm sure you'll understand. I just think this is just so beautiful, and just being in conversation feels right. And so in that, I'll just ask a few more questions, and then
Absolutely.
it's wonderful. I know you've got another obligation.
Oh,
Close.
it's Renee. She knew. I told her what I was doing, and I told her that I might be a
I'm
little.
just being mindful. I
Yeah.
love it. And I love being in conversation. And I think that just watching people in their comments, I just think it's really wonderful. And so in that, I know you'll understand. And we do lots of shows with lots of readings, so it'll happen again. So what brings you a sense of hope in these concerning times?
The sense of one thing that it brings me a sense of hope is that I know that this is not going to last forever. And then I
Mm,
know, like I know, like I know, like I know, we are heading into a new and better world.
yes.
We everybody has to. I had to go through that profound grief and loss to get to where I am today. And this is the exact same story for even somebody who is individual and for a collective of this world or and of this country.
Mm,
And we are headed in the right direction. We are gaining momentum slowly. I know we will, as human beings, we want the pot to boil immediately so we can eat, right?
that was you.
But
Mm-hmm.
we have to wait for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really keeps me going. That I know that we're heading into a better. I mean, here's another thing that I know of, that empaths are being activated, I think, earlier than they were supposed to be activated, if that makes any sense. Okay, hang in there.
Okay. Yeah.
So I do a lot of readings for women who are like 70s and 80s. I mean, they're in their last seasons of their lives,
Yeah.
and they're being activated as empaths in their late season. And I thought, this is really weird, because 9 times out of, usually empaths come into their new life activated already, and they grow up and they kind of know who they are around their 25, 30s.
Mhm.
But these are being, and I'm pretty sure, I feel this, that they were supposed to go through this timeline to prepare for their activation in their next life to be empaths, but they're being activated now.
Mm,
And what is activating them now and earlier and better? What is doing that? It's the new world. We need the power of our empaths right now, more than we've ever needed on this earth. We need that power. You know what empath's basic job is? If we did nothing else in this community, our basic job is to filter through the negative feelings and negative emotions that are happening right now and offer them up to the divine.
yeah.
That's our basic information. That's our basic job if we do nothing else on this earth. And we do it willingly or unwillingly. Some of them suffer, but if we're doing it willingly, we just know that we are built that way, that all of this human emotion, all of this human energy, this world energy is flowing through us, and we're offering it up to the divine to be healed.
Wow.
And the activation of all of these empaths that are being activated, I hope that makes a lot of sense.
It makes perfect sense. I hadn't heard it, so I'm hearing this for the first time. But to be that aware in your observation, and to kind of outframe from it, and just to see it in that, it makes total sense. I felt into it, and it feels right. It feels you nailed it. I mean, it's so, I hadn't seen it. So thank you for that. And then the other part about what gives you a sense of hope is the absolute that everything is temporary.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And here's the thing, in that there's the invite and the humanness when things are really wonderful.
Yes.
remind yourself that they're also temporary, you know, and on the flip side, when things are not so wonderful and anywhere in between, that things are temporary. And in that, it does give that opportunity to see the hope in that. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. Again, your channel, the other channel, and not to take away from your, I mean, you have a wonderful channel with your tarot and that, and just being in conversation with you today, I can feel into it. It's going to be wonderful.
Thank
People
you.
are really hungry for these conversations because they're real, they're honest, they're relatable. They can look different, but in it, it's the reminder that all of these things are to be a part of our conversation. And the sooner we step into it and we find our people, if you will, to be in
Yes.
that conversation and be seen in that way, I think is wonderful. Grounding. How do you ground? Kind of like in the
Oh,
work you do.
like I said before, I am Gemini, I am Aquarius, a Sagittarius, and all form of it. I'm air. And I am up there so often that some I like calm down, Sheila. Right? So I may be the worst at grounding than anybody out there.
Yeah.
However, I think that my emotions ground me. I think that my profound ability to have compassion and empathy for trees to animals to people to whatever, my incredible, I think that draws me back down into my human form. So that's I think that was built in, and I don't think I actually practice a grounding thing because I'm up there constantly. I mean, if I didn't have any children, I'd be up, I'd be gone. You know what I mean? I'd be the girl in the van
Yeah.
driving all over the country. Yeah, yeah, I would be that one if I didn't have it. If I didn't have children or grandchildren, I grounded myself in a home. I grounded myself in a job or a this and that. So these are the things I have to, I guess, give more credit to my children than I've ever given them credit. They're the ones that keep me on this earth the most.
I love that realization. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And my grandchildren, of course. I mean, I wish I would have had my grandchildren first, but it just doesn't work that way. The lovely little honey badgers that they are.
Amazing. So if you could just, I've got your contact information in the description. And of course, if you have not subscribed to Celtic Tarot Sheila's channel, please go over and do that. I'm sure you already have, but if not, please do. And if
I want
you
to say hi to Debbie. She's also in the chat
I
too.
saw her early. Yes.
Yeah.
Freebird, she's here. She's still here. Lovely. Hello to everyone who has joined us and been in this conversation. I haven't ignored you. Just being in the conversation sometimes just feels so right. And it did in this and the sharing that was for us all in that. And so take that as the message, if you will. And in it, I think there's something for all of us. And I love that. Again, thank you, Sheila, for people that are looking to work with you one-on-one. And I see these workshops. I see this new channel. Those things will be unveiling. And as they unveil, I know she will share that with you. But to work with you one-on-one, can you just share some of the offerings that you do offer?
So I do just normal, like I think a 30-minute tarot card reading where you can ask me as many questions as we can get through, like a rapid fire tarot readings that you can do. I also do remote viewing. Now, remote viewing, a lot of people don't understand that a lot. And so we kind of, sometimes I get into the reading and a remote view kind of ends up with a little bit of tarot card readings and me asking the Akashic records to bring forth information for them. And I also get to do a grand tableau. Now, a grand tableau is where I lay out quite a few cards, and I ask. Sometimes that one's like if you have a profound thing going on in your life and you really want to know the backstory, what's currently happening, and what the trajectory of that is, a grand tableau is for you. Like, what does my marriage look like? You know, somebody who's worried about being either divorced or stay married. You know, a grand tableau is perfect for that, where you can readjust your cells if need be, because this is about you, not about them. I can't tell you go fix your husband, but I can give you information on how to readjust your cells to stay in that marriage, or readjust your cells that you need to get out. So, but I don't give out marriage information or marriage advice. I just tell you what the cards say,
Yeah.
right? So I do the grand tableau, and each one of those you can see on my website. If somebody chases you and says, "Hey, come over here and make an appointment with you," that's not me. I would never ever chase you for an appointment. That is a spam. That is somebody who is trying to rip us off.
Yeah.
I haven't found them. I've been trying to, but if that happens, let's know that that is not us.
Yeah. And I'll just add to that, before you block them, it's important that you report them, because we can't do
Yes.
anything any different than you can. And in fact, it's just more helpful when people report and then block. But none of us on YouTube in this community would ever solicit anyone. We don't
No.
do that. We don't solicit and reach out and choose you for a reading. It doesn't work that way. You have to come to us. And so in that, it's unfortunate, but this time of year, I actually had one this morning, and in that they're just relentless. And so unfortunately, but Sheila, thank you so much. My Gemini sister, and you are such a pillar in this community. You really are. And so for all the sharing that you did today, answering all the questions, I know sometimes that can be different, but I appreciate it. I truly do. And I hope
No, I feel free when I get to do this.
it's
So
beautiful.
thank you.
I love it.
Yeah.
And for all of you, thank you for your donations. Thank you for being here and holding the space for this conversation. And for those of you that maybe tuned in just near the end, I do invite you to go back and listen to the whole conversation. It was beautiful and it was powerful, and Spirit was here from start to finish. So anything else you'd like to say before we say goodbye? Oh, tell us where you're headed.
What?
For Renee's.
I am. I'm heading off to Renee. I think Renee is doing a Renee Community Tarot, I guess is what it's called. She's doing a fundraiser. So if you don't have anything else to do after this, head over there, and we'll be over there for a little while. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing over there, but we'll figure it out.
Sometimes we just don't have a script, y'all.
We don't. We just kind of show up and go, all right, let's do that.
Totally. Yeah, we put our trust. Spirit, take the wheel. That's what
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for asking me. It's always nice to be wanted, and that you had such profound and great questions that we're able to open up our hearts to talk about. And it really, truly is about healing, and hopefully it helps somebody.
I know it helped me, and I'm reading in the comments. I know it helped many. So thank you. Thanks for being in the conversation, and we will see you all again.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Blessings to you all.
Bye.